A long time ago, perhaps even 2,000 years ago, there lived a rich man, and he had a beautiful, pious wife. But the couple didn't have any children, and all they wanted was children. And the woman, she would sit inside, and she would imagine having children running around and running through their yard. But they didn't get any children. Until one day, the woman went outside, and she sat beneath the juniper tree. And as the juniper tree's branches swayed in the wind, she thought one more time about children and about them running through her yard. And then she felt for certain that she would have them. And so she came to her husband and she said, "I feel for certain that I will have a child." And the husband said, "Yay, I'm so happy about that." And at the same time, the woman was less certain about her own future. So she said, "If I ever am to die, please bury me beneath the juniper tree." And the husband said, "Okay." And then what do you know, 9 months later, she gave birth to a beautiful son. And as she held the son in her arms, she was so happy that she died. Well, the husband did as she requested, and he buried her beneath the juniper tree. And as the months passed, the husband felt that maybe he could move on, and he married again. But his second wife was wicked on the inside. But he didn't know it yet. Well, the second wife bore a daughter whose name was Marlene. And every time she saw her husband's son, she was jealous, for she wanted his inheritance for her own daughter. And she would beat her husband's son when he came home from school. He was always afraid to be around her. Well, one day she hatched a wicked plan, and her daughter came up to her and she said, "Mother, Mother, can I have an apple?" And she said, "Well, yes, but you must wait until your brother has one first." For she was plotting against her brother. And then the brother came home and he says, "Mother, Mother, can I have an apple?" She says, "Yes, follow me." And she took him to the secret apple room upstairs. And she took him over to the secret apple chest. And she heaved open the heavy lid of the secret apple chest and she said, "Here you go. Have an apple, dear." And as he reached inside to get an apple, slam! She slammed down the lid of the apple chest and off flew his head and it flew among the apples and he was dead. And then she grew distraught and she felt guilty of her crime and she realized she must hide her crime. So she took the body and she propped it up against the wall and put the head back on and tied a silken scarf around it so it looked as if he was alive. And she set an apple in his hands and waited for Marlene to come by. And she tried to talk to her brother, and of course her brother didn't respond. And she was worried. She said, "Mother, Mother, brother's not responding." "Well, you should box his ears if he doesn't respond one more time." Well, of course, Marlene goes over, and he doesn't respond because he's dead. And so she boxes his ears, and off rolls his head, and Marlene is terrified, and she cries and cries. And the woman says, "Well, I guess we'll have to cover this up." And she takes apart the body and cooks him into stew. And so she is stirring the stew, and the father comes home, and he says, "I'm hungry. What's for dinner?" And the woman says, "Stew." And he says, "Oh boy, I love stew." And he gets some stew, and he's enjoying it, and then he notices his son's not there. And he says, "Where's my son?" And the woman says, "He went to visit family." And he says, "Oh, well, he didn't say goodbye." "Well, he said goodbye to me." "Well, I love this stew. I wish I could have it all." And he did. He ate the whole pot. Well, Marlene is sitting in the corner, and she's crying and crying. And she realizes that she should gather all of her brother's bones and tie them up in a silken scarf. And she takes them outside and places them beneath the juniper tree. And she cries and cries. Well, during the night, the juniper tree begins to sway, and inside the leaves begin to glow, and the branches spread apart, and out from the juniper tree emerges a bird, and it is the most beautiful bird, and it sings a beautiful song. "My mother, she killed me. My father, he ate me. My sister Marlene gathered all my bones, tied them in a silken scarf. Tweet, tweet, what a beautiful bird am I." And it was the most beautiful song in all of the land. Well, the bird, he flew over to a goldsmith's house, and he sings his beautiful song, and the goldsmith is working, and he hears the song, and he says, "Bird, sing that song for me one more time." And the bird says, "Ah ha ha, I do not sing twice for nothing. You must give me something if you want me to sing again." "Well, you can have this gold chain." "Why, thank you." And he sings his beautiful song for the goldsmith, and the goldsmith is content. Then he flies on to a shoemaker's house, and he sings his beautiful song, and the shoemaker steps out into the road with one shoe on and one shoe off, and he sees the bird, and he said, "Bird, sing that song for me one more time." And the bird says, "Ah ha ha, I do not sing twice for nothing. You must give me something if you want me to sing again." Well, the shoemaker has a pair of red shoes he's been working on, and he hands them to the bird, and the bird takes them in his left claw, and he sings his beautiful song one more time. Then the bird flies to a mill, and he sings his beautiful song, and one by one, the mill workers look up from their work, and they see the bird, and they say, "Bird, bird, that was such a beautiful song. Sing it once more for us." And the bird says, "Ah ha ha, I do not sing twice for nothing. You must give me something if you want me to sing again." Well, the mill workers, they have the giant millstone, and they have to lift it up, and the bird, he flies, and he puts his neck through it, and he flies, and he sings his beautiful song, and the mill workers are content. And then he flies back to the house, and he starts singing, and he sings loudly so everyone in the house can hear, and the husband says, "Oh, that's a beautiful noise outside. I should go see what that's about." And so while he goes outside, Marlene is still crying and crying over the loss of her brother. And the woman, she begins to feel uneasy. "I feel as if the world is coming to an end." Well, the husband goes outside, and the bird sings his beautiful song, and he drops down the golden chain. And the husband gets it, and he's delighted at the golden chain. He comes back in and says, "Look what this beautiful bird gave me." And Marlene, she stops crying for a second, and she thinks maybe the bird will comfort her too. So Marlene comes outside, and the bird sings for her, and he drops down the red shoes, and Marlene catches the red shoes, and she puts them on, and she dances around. She almost forgets her brother is gone. Well, Marlene comes back inside, and at this point, the mother is very uneasy. She says, "I feel as if lightning is going to strike my bones, or if an earthquake is going to happen. Maybe I should go outside too, and the bird will comfort me." So the woman creeps outside, and she sees the bird, and the bird sings its beautiful song for her. And it drops down on top of her, the millstone, and bam, there's an explosion, and out of the flames and fire emerges the sun. And he is alive again, and he grasps his sister and father's hands, and they return inside as a family to eat dinner. The end.